Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Sports Wave Network and the Sports Corner with the Conn Man. I am your host, the Conn Man, and with me this afternoon, I have with me a very special guest. He goes by the name of John Reeves. John Reeves is out of Chicago way, and we're gonna have a good time talking, old school NBA and things of that nature. And before he comes on, I guess I want to talk about how we met. During the pandemic when, things were all kind of shaky. I recall that I was kind of bored and I was, going through all types of shows that were coming on Facebook and that nature. And I came across a show called All Ball Chicago and a guy by the name of Robert Bobby Reed. Y'all need to check him out. Anyway, he had a show on and I kept trying to get in touch with him. I said, well, I know basketball. I know history. I want to get on this show. And I kept kind of bothering them, harassing them. I don't know what you ever want to call it. But then he said, Mike, I'm going to get you on my show. I said, cool. He said, but I'm going to bring another OG to come on with you. I said, great. He said, I got a guy by the name of John Reeves. Anyway, we got together. I forgot, it was in the afternoon, one day in the afternoon. And, Robert Bobby Reed introduced us and everything went well. And then we clicked and we got a lot of views and, he is the OG. There's very few people that I can consider kind of like more knowledgeable than me when it comes to NBA and the history of the NBA. And my man here, when he comes on, I'm sure he's going to have quite a bit of stories to tell. And I'm here to give him his flowers as well because, my man is, I think he's in his 70s, if I recall, and he has a lot to say. I have a lot to say. I got a lot of things to say about, the GOAT, and, we're going to try to dispel some things that maybe people didn't know, and maybe I can give you guys some intel that you might be interested in. While we're waiting for Mr. John Reeves, I think I'll bring up a little thing that was really bothering me a little bit. Before we go into the GOAT, I'll let John Reeves and I talk about that. But I'm going to talk about, since it's Black History Month, I'm going to talk about Bill Russell. I told people the way that Bill Russell ended up with the Boston Celtics is unbelievable. I guarantee none of y'all know what team drafted Bill Russell. Guarantee you guys don't know. But anyway, it was the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta Hawks had the rights to Bill Russell. But let me backtrack a little bit. Bill Russell played for the University of San Francisco. They won 2 back-to-back NCAA championships. Bill Russell had a guy by the name of Casey Jones on his team at that point. They won 2 back-to-back. I think they went undefeated, if I'm correct. Anyway, that very next year, after they won the championship, the Celtics had the 7th pick. Check it out. They had the 7th pick. And a team, Rochester, had the 1st pick, Rochester Royals. I think that was their name. And what transpired was there was one player particularly for the Boston Celtics. His name was Easy Ed McCauley. And Easy Ed had requested a trade because his son had cerebral palsy. And he wanted to go to Missouri to go, be with his son. So he requested a trade. Anyway, that great man, Mr. Red Auerbach, he saw something in this guy, Bill Russell. But they had the 7th pick, and they knew Bill Russell wouldn't be around when pick number 7 came about. So he went to the owner. He said, "Look, damn, I'm trying to get this guy, Bill Russell. I think he could be a great help to us." Meanwhile, all over the country, on specifically the East Coast, they were saying that Bill Russell would not be a great player. He had no offensive game whatsoever. He would not be a great addition, and he'd be a role player, if anything, in the NBA. Believe it or not. But anyway, what transpired was the Rochester Royals had the 1st pick, and Bill Russell was going to be gone by then when the Celtics really wanted him. So what they did was they went to the 2 owners of the Celtics and Rochester Royals. They got together, and they decided to make a trade, and that trade involved Mr. Bill Russell, for the great Easy Ed McCauley, who I just told you wanted to go back to Missouri because his son had cerebral palsy, and a forward by the name of Cliff Hagan, who ended up going and playing for the St. Louis Hawks, if I'm correct. But anyway, so what transpired was they tried to make a deal, and it ultimately ended up, and the thing that broke the camel's back, or the thing that really adjudicated the deal to go through, was the fact, people are not going to believe me, the ice capades. You see, back in the 50s, the ice capades were very popular in the Boston area, and they would fill out the arenas, the garden, and all that, and they generate a lot of income. And the Rochester Royals owner said, "Ooh, I like that." So they made a deal where if the owner of the Celtics gave the rights to the ice capades to the owner of the Rochester Royals, the deal would go through, and that's how Bill Russell ended up. I'm doing a short story. Ended up with the Celtics. So anyway, that was something that I wanted to dispel the rumors. A lot of people didn't know he was drafted by the Atlanta Hawks, just like Dr. J was. That's another story. We'll go back, and I do another show. We'll go back into that. But I want to give you guys a little historical perspective, and also I want to talk about this. We're going to talk about Wilt Chamberlain, who happened to be my very first idol. And I'm going to go into that a little bit. But anyway, Wilt Chamberlain, to me, was like my very first idol. The first person that I really, admired. And he was just a phenomenal ball player. And back in the day, I think I was born in an era, which was the perfect time, because I was young enough to experience all the greats. I got to see Oscar Robinson, Bill Russell, Wilt Chamberlain, Walt Bellamy, Elgin Baylor, Jerry West, Oscar Robinson. The list goes on and on and on and on and on. So I was able to see that. And then I was able to see the advent, in the 70s, and then the 80s, and then the 90s, and to where we are right now. But I'll give you some little thing about Wilt Chamberlain, if you guys don't mind. I don't want to bore you to death. But Wilt Chamberlain, was a physical specimen. He had a 50-inch vertical leap, and number one, he played multitude of sports. He played with the Harlem Globetrotters. He ran track and field, high jump, I think the long jump, and the list goes on and on and on. And he was a tremendous ball player, not only known for his 100-point game. But let me tell you something you guys don't know. The famous foul shot, you need to shoot the foul shot. Do you know that because of Wilt Chamberlain used to jump from the foul line? Probably took a couple steps, but he jumped from the foul line and he would go and dunk it. That was the foul shot. Don't believe me? Look it up. Anyway, they stopped that right away. But that's one of the I guess the biggest things that changed the NBA landscape, because he never missed. Think about it. He never missed. And they, no, we can't do this. So they put that to an end. And then, the goaltending, they did so many things to because he was such a dominant factor that he had so much unable to be stopped. Now, here's one theory again. Well, Wilt Chamberlain, he was 7'1", and everybody else was. That's not necessarily true. I can name some centers: Walt Bellamy, the great Nate Thurman, Willis Reed, Wes Unseld. I can go. The list goes on and on and on. So he didn't just play against the little 5'8" guys or 6'5" guys. Them guys were unbelievable. Walt Bellamy was a force to be dealt with, and Nate Thurman, enough said. And you go ask anybody about Nate Thurman, they'll tell you. So he didn't have it that easy. And then Bill Russell, figure that out. Bill Russell. So he didn't have as easy as the time as people think. Of course, the talent level back then was not as good as it is right now. But he was just a phenomenal player. And, when I was growing up, I was young enough. I remember this. I remember maybe I was like 7 or 8 years old. And, I would go to, it was during school season. So I'd go to bed And then back then we only had three channels. We had channel 5, channel 10, and channel 12, if I'm correct. Anyway, so we didn't get to see many games, but on channel 5 here in Massachusetts, WCVB, they used to have someone go to the games and film them. It was obviously in black and white, but you get to see the Garden, and I got to see highlights of the games that were played at the Garden that particular night, and I got to see the Wilt Chamberlains and you name it. I mean, I never got to see him live. I got to see him, when they came to the Garden. And another thing I want to dispel was the fact that, the talent wasn't that good. But let me tell you something. There were only 8 or 9 teams back in the day. Now think about it. They played each team maybe 6, 8 times. I think it was 8 times during the course of a year. You know how hard it is to win against someone 8 times? They know every move. They know when you go to the bathroom. They know every damn move you make. It's more difficult. Whereas right now, you got the NBA all watered down. You got 30 teams. You got people who don't want to play. It's a whole different ball game. Back then, they played. They played, and they played hard. There was no game management, load management. There was nothing of that nature. So that I want to dispel that one. Wilt was, of course, he was like a freak because of someone of that tall and that talented. And then again, I want to bring up we're going to talk about Lou Alcindor. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, however else you want to refer to him as. Wilt Chamberlain was already in the league about 10 years before Alcindor came in. Chamberlain came in the early 61, 62. I think Alcindor came in 71, 72. In my mind. Again, I don't Google. So I think around that particular time. So Alcindor Jabbar caught Chamberlain when he was already 10 years in the NBA. And his skills were diminishing a little bit, at that time. So you can't, when they say he used to eat up Chamberlain, that was not necessarily true. And the fact that what made Chamberlain such a great player was the fact that he was able to be a total offensive weapon and change his game to become a defensive weapon and ended up winning. They had the very best team in 1968, 67 with the Philadelphia 76ers. And Wilt Chamberlain, of course, Hal Greer. I can name the whole team. I can name the whole damn country back then. But anyway, he had a great team. Chet Walker, I can go on. Wally Jones, we can go on. But anyway, he had a great team, one of the greatest teams ever. And that's one year that he ended up beating the Celtics. But you also got to remember, the Celtics had 8 Hall of Famers. And they had Bill Russell. Chamberlain basically dominated Bill Russell individually, but the Celtics always seemed to win. Chamberlain had the record for 55 rebounds in the game. And who did he do it against? Bill Russell. Chamberlain holds the record of most rebounds average for a season, 23, I think. Russell was at 22. Chamberlain has over 150-something records, which he still holds today, by the way. And I just don't want, everybody talks about the GOAT, which I'm going to go into. I'm still waiting on Mr. John Reeves. We've been having some difficulty with him coming on. I don't know what's going on, but we've tried to get him on numerous occasions, but I really don't know what's going on. Hopefully he comes in because I want to give him his flowers. But now that I got you here, getting back to that thing about Wilt Chamberlain, they, again, only played 8. There was only 8 teams, and they had a significant difficult time because every team knew you back in the day, and it was a real difficult. They played real hard. But getting back, so I used to get up, like I said, and I would watch the highlights all the time. And then when I was at 12 years old, I would go to the New Bedford Public Library and I would look up microfilm. Who does that at 12 years old? I would go and look up microfilm, and I would go against, because they said Bill Russell was better than Chamberlain, and I'm like, no, Chamberlain was better than Russell individually, and he was. And even Russell stated that. But anyway, I used to get up and watch the highlights and look at. I remember again going to the New Bedford Public Library and looking up microfilm. What 12-year-old kid was doing that? I enjoyed it. I wrote down each and every game that they played against each other, and it was no comparison. except winning or losing. Russell got him in that end. But that same year though, that Bill Russell ended up going to the Celtics was really interesting because that same year, the Celtics still maintained their seventh pick in the draft. And who did they draft? Number 7. A guy by the name of Tommy Heinsohn. And Tommy Heinsohn, out of Holy Cross, played with Ron Perry Sr. He had a great, I think he was in the top 5 in scoring in the nation at Holy Cross. Holy Cross had a great career, had a great team as well. But anyway, excuse me. Anyway, the Celtics were able to keep that 7th pick, which is another outback thing, and they end up drafting Tommy Heinsohn. Now you had Bill Russell, Tommy Heinsohn, and by the way, they were still able to obtain another player. He goes by the name of Casey Jones. So you had Casey, you already had Sam, you got Casey, you got Tommy Heinsohn, and you got Bill Russell, and of course you got Bob Cousy, and then you got Don Nelson. We can go to the list. I can go on. But anyway, what was funny about that is that year that Bill Russell played with the Celtics, he didn't get Rookie of the Year. It was Tommy Heinsohn. So, again, as I told you guys, I always thought of myself as a historian, but once I had the great Sam Jones on my show, I quickly said, nah, I'm really not, because he's the one that actually lived it, played it, and lived it. And it was a great honor to have him on my show. And he unfortunately passed away 3 months after he did my show. I think I was the last interview he ever did prior to his death. And, it was great, doing this podcast thing has been really great to me because I get to meet so many great people and great podcasters, and I'm on a great network. And, what really, I guess, hits me really hard is the fact that I'll never forget the date he came on my show. It was on June 10th because my birthday was June 11th, or is June 11th. And we did the show on a Friday. He was only supposed to come on for about 15 minutes. And I said, well, give me 15 seconds. I don't even care. And then, I messed up and I got the number mixed up. I was on another network at the time, and then he had to come on after I had the wrong number. But my producer back then, he said, Mike, you gave me the wrong number. So I had to go off the air, doing a show live at that time with one of my good friends, a friend of mine who's out from New Jersey, but living out in Washington, D.C., Ed Atlas. And he covered for me, got the right number. And then Casey came on. And what was funny? I was not even nervous. Not at all. He made it so comfortable. And then, as I told you guys, it was supposed to be only 15 minutes. But ended up being an hour and 45 minutes. And then he asked me where I was from. And then he knew people that I knew out here. And the friends that I know, he knew them very well. I'm talking about the friends that were, older than me. But he knew a lot of them. And he would tell me, say hello to this one. When you see him, say hello to that. I was like, this is crazy. And then I remember this was a Friday. On Saturday, the next morning, I go out and do my errands, and I come back home, and I hear a phone click, ding, ding. I said, hello. And they said, well, hello, Mike, how you doing? I'm like, who is this? He said, Mike, this is Sam Jones. I'm calling to thank you for having me on your show. I had a great time. And I'm like, absolute silence. I'm like, And what a great man, and what a great career he had as well. But getting back to, I'm trying to, the show was designed for John Reeves, OG, but for some reason he has a difficult time getting on the show. I don't know how. I don't know what's going on, but maybe he'll be able to come back on. I don't know. But, there's a time difference with the Midwest and here, so I don't know. But I've been trying to get him on for a while. I don't want him to think that I'm playing games or something with him because he is someone that should be recognized, and I'm here to do that as well. But now we're gonna move on up. We're gonna dispel that Celtic stuff. Okay, we're gonna get rid of that. We're gonna get rid of the fact that Wilt Chamberlain did have a lot of competition. They were not as great as he was, but he still had competition. And you look it up again. I don't Google, but if you look up Walt Bellamy, Nate Thurman, Willis Reed, so many other Bill Russell. Those are four guys right there. You know what I mean? And there's plenty more. But Wilt did the damn thing, and he also changed his game. And excuse me, he's the only. They say Nate Archibald, but the only guy to lead the league in assists and scoring the same year, which is an incredible feat. This is going way back now. So I think James Harden might have done it recently. But anyway, that's how great a player Wilt Chamberlain was. And I just admired the way he played, the way he conducted himself on and off the court. And that was my guy. Getting back to the 70s, what a great era. But again, there wasn't too many games being seen because we had no damn TV and they wouldn't play the games. So again, as I keep talking about until I'm damn near blue in the face, back then the players seemed larger than life because you rarely got to see them. Now you got ESPN, you got this one, you got that one, you got FS1, you got ESPN 2, 3, 4, TBS 10. You got all that stuff now that it don't give to me the impact. Whereas back in the day, there was only 3 channels. And matter of fact, I think CBS was the first one to televise an NBA game. And it was wild. It was different. It was crazy, because we never, so you heard about it or you read about it, but you hardly got to see it. I got to see the highlights, again, as I said, when I was watching Channel 5 around 11:25 at night. They would show, the Celtics and, at the Garden, the parquet floor, black and white. It was cool. It was definitely cool. And you get to see, I did get to see Wilt Chamberlain and Oscar Robinson and all them guys. And, what a great thing. But, when we're going back to Black History Month, which we are in right now, I have to tell you guys this story. If some of you have probably heard it, hopefully you haven't. But the NBA was going through a crucial time back in the 60s, late 50s, 60s, because, as you know, the owners were all white, and the players, at first they were all white, and then until they had Earl Lloyd was the first black African American to perform in the NBA, and then there was 2 other ones right after him. Although they make it a big thing that he was the first, I guess numerically, but there was 2 other guys right after him who were signed maybe 2-3 weeks after him that played in the NBA. So they all played in the same year, perhaps. And the NBA was real difficult. As you know, the money was not that good. They had no television contracts per se like they got now. They didn't have many sponsorships back in the day as well. And the NBA was going through tough times. And back then, very rarely did you see teams make trades. So if you were unhappy, unlike today, if someone scratched you, have a scratch, you want to leave the team. But back in the day, you played or you were gone. And when you left, your chances of getting on another team were minimal. Because as I told you, there was only 8-9 teams. So there, you know what I mean? There wasn't that many players to be had. So it was kind of difficult. Anyway, so the players were treated real bad. I'm not just the black players, the whole NBA players, the travel, they had to pay their own insurance, medical, they had to pay their own medical bills, and a lot of things didn't get paid very much money, so they had to go take on a second job, and it was really, very, very difficult. And there was a guy who I'm gonna tell you, who a lot of people don't know, but it's Black History Month. I'm gonna speak my mind. Oscar Robinson. That guy If it wasn't for him, the NBA would not have been the NBA that it is now. My man fought tooth and nail to get some type of, I won't say equity, but he fought tooth and nail to make the players feel like they were like human beings, because they were treated like, I'm not going to say slaves, but they were treated terrible. And the owners didn't want to spend no money back then, and it was really, really difficult. So there was a proposed All-Star game at the Boston Garden. I think it was 1961. I'm not sure that one. You might get me on that one, but anyway, Oscar said, "Hold up, now, enough's enough. We need to make our point valid that we need better transportation, we need better hotels, we need medical, we need all this." And of course, the owners went down for that. So the All-Star game was played. This particular All-Star game was played in 1961, and at the Boston Garden, and it was going to be nationally televised. Oscar Robertson got the teams together. He said, "Look, we got to make a stand right now because it's the perfect timing, because it's going to be nationally televised. So we need to make a stand right now so we can get what we should be able to get, what we deserve to get. We put our bodies on the line. We get hurt. We got to pay our medical bills, things of that nature." So I found it, if I recall, again, I'm just going, I don't have Google, but I think all the players voted yes, that they were not going to play the game. I think 4 players said they want to play, but the other ones all said no. We're going to make a stand. We're going to make a stand right now. And owners were like, "Oh, what are we going to do? We got a national game. What are we going to do?" So they're like, "Hey, what are we going to do?" So guess what they did? They granted Oscar and the NBA's wishes. They ended up getting better medical facilities, medical treatment. The pay, didn't have to pay for their medical stuff and all that nature. That was because of Oscar Robertson. And that game finally was played, and the owners had to sacrifice and divvy up some money of that nature. Also, another thing that Oscar Robertson did was he said, "Well, damn, why can't players go to other teams? Why are they stuck on one team? Why can't they be a free?" I think that's what they end up being, free agent. Why can't they be a free agent? Why do they have to stick on one team? And if they do want to leave that team, the chances of them going to another team is null and void. So again, Oscar Robertson, I keep telling you people, Oscar Robertson went to bat for the NBA. If you guys ever see, with it being Black History Month, they had a sit down, and they had Muhammad Ali, they had Jim Brown, they had Bill Russell, Lou Alcindor. There's about 12 of them, I think. 12 of them. And they all got together and said, "Hold up, we got to do this. We got to make a damn stand, or this is what's going to happen." Anyway, that's where the free agency began. Again, because of Oscar Robertson. Now, we know what kind of great player he was on the court. Walking triple-double. Phenomenal player. Considered one of the best guys of all time. You know what I mean? But I think his impact was more important what he did off the court and what he did for the NBA players. That's kind of why I look at myself, or did, as a historian, because I don't want the work and effort that they did go unnoticed. So that's why sometimes I keep bringing it up, because I don't want anyone to forget, without them, where would we be now? And the sacrifices that they had to go through. And again, having Sam Jones on my show, and he didn't get into it into detail, but that's tough. When you go and win a championship and you come home and find your house on fire, feces all over the walls, that's a damn shame. A cross in your front lawn. That happened to Mr. Bill Russell. You know what I mean? And then at that time, the team would win, and then they leave the game and go to a restaurant. Only the white people could go eat. The blacks couldn't go eat. Oh, you guys are not allowed. Would that be a hotel, a restaurant? Hotel? They can't stay here. So again, that's what I'm trying to. I always trying to keep that in memory of what they had to go through. And if I have to give someone one of the biggest shout outs, it's got to be Red Auerbach. Red Auerbach, and I'm going to tell you a couple of reasons why. Red Auerbach said, hold on, no. If they can't eat, we're not eating. If they can't stay at that hotel, we're not staying at that hotel. So I have to give Red Auerbach all the credit in the world for sticking up for his team. And that's why you notice they all love Red Auerbach because of what he did. Starting the all black, starting five, unheard of in the NBA, unheard of. Red Auerbach did it. And then when Red Auerbach had enough, smoking that damn cigar on the bench, and after winning so many damn championships, he said, I had enough. What did he do? He chose, of all people, Bill Russell to be the player coach. And they still won the championship with Russell as the player coach. Figure that out. That goes to show you what a great player that Bill Russell was. He wasn't gifted offensively. I mean, he really didn't have much moves. He had the hook and he had the dunk, but the impact that he made on the game and on the Celtics was he didn't need to score. His job was to play defense. And, what Bill Russell did, he developed it. People want to know. A lot of people block shots and they block it into the stands and all that. What does that do, really? That really don't do much. What Bill Russell would do is he'd block it, but keep the ball in play and get the fast break going, get into transition, bang, bam, boom, 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 bam. That's what Bill Russell did. He didn't go, if you ever watch any highlights of Bill Russell, he blocks a shot. Very rarely does he block it out of bounds. He keeps the ball in play, which allows people they get the oohs, ahs when they block it and it goes out of bounds. They really don't know. The team still maintains possession where at the point of where the ball went out of bounds. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but that's more for the impact of getting the oohs and the ahs. Where Russell did it strategically and with game plan in his mind. So I'm gonna bring it up. Okay, so we're gonna get back. We're gonna get by the Bill Russell era. I just want to bring that and all of the things that the players had to go through, and then we're gonna move up a little faster. We got the ABA. The ABA wanted to expand, which was developed in the ABA because they wanted to develop their own league, and then you know how it is. Owners get shaky, whatever. So they wanted to develop this new league called the ABA, which is the American Basketball Association. And the ABA, at its inception, was pretty. I think they had between 8 and 10 teams at its origin. But the ABA was so spectacular. They had so many great ball players, and what they did was, and the NBA copied them. If you want the 3-point shot, who do you think they got that from? The dunk contest, who do you think they got that from? The only thing they didn't do was, the ball, changing the ball colors. But the cheerleaders, the ABA was like, I don't know. The NBA was more, strict and rigid. The ABA was like wild. They had bands. It was a wild scene, and you had some of the best talent. And you had the greats, George Gervin, Alex Gilmore, Dan Issel. The list goes on and on and on and on. Louis Dampier. I can name about probably can name about 120 players. But anyway, they had all these players, and then there was a young man. He played at University of Massachusetts, and they said, they went to him and said, well, hey, we're trying to develop this league. We're not making much money. Would you want to play in the ABA? And this individual had gotten drafted, or was going to get drafted, or got drafted by the Atlanta Hawks. And his name was, I think you guys might know of him, Dr. J. And Dr. J said, "Oh, ooh, all this money?" He went and played in the ABA. And when he came in, I mean, the league was already okay. It was fun. But then when he came in, he brought this excitement and aura, with his crazy dunks and, I mean, his head flying on through the wind. And he had those huge hands. And he lit up. He lit it up. And then, of course, that developed more interest. And, the places started getting packed. And, the NBA wasn't too happy about it. The players weren't too happy. There was a couple of games where the ABA and the NBA played against each other, and the ABA did work. ABA did some work. And you know what? One thing I do regret, I remember, I think I was 13 or 14, and there was going to be I was in my glory. I had half court tickets to the ABA NBA All-Star game, at the Providence Civic Center. And at the very last moment, they decided not to have the games. Do you believe that? I was at half court. I'm a young kid. I'm in my glory. I get to see everybody, ABA, NBA. And at the last minute, that I don't really recall what the reason was. I think that the owners didn't want them to play because of injuries, something like that. But they did not play that game. And I had half court seats. That was totally devastating. But anyway, what happened was another guy came in to the ABA, and he came from North Carolina State, where they had won the championship. And he was, how could I put it? He was not normal. I'll tell a quick story later on. But anyway, he goes by the name of David Skywalker Thompson. He came out of North Carolina State, and he came with another one with a 48, 50-inch vertical, and he was incredible because of Lou Alcindor, you could not dunk in the NCAA. So the things that David Thompson did, and he was not allowed to dunk, is, if you looked at it, it's incredible. I mean, because of Lou Alcindor, they had a no dunk rule. So North Carolina State had a guy by the name of Monty Towell. Monty Towell was 5'6", and he would just throw alley-oops to David Thompson. Incredible. Anyway, David Thompson and Julius Erving were like the best celebrated ABA ball players. And then they had a dunk contest in 1976. Now I'm going to go back a little bit of ways. In 1976, I was 16 years old. And now let me back. The ABA was losing money. So the NBA said, okay, hold up. They had meetings and whatever. So they said, okay, well, what we'll do is we'll take the top 4 teams that make the most money generate more money. So they took San Antonio, the Nets, 2 other teams, and they brought them into the NBA. San Antonio was another one. So you got the Nets, you got San Antonio, and you had 2 other teams. I'll think of it in a minute once I get my mind going. But those 4 teams ended up going to the NBA. But what happened was, prior to that, that was what we call a merger. Prior to that merger, there was nothing. So in 1976, there goes, they had nothing to do. The players really. So anyway, a guy by the name, to be honest with you, local people here in New Bedford, and they did a tremendous job. They ended up, somehow, I don't know, they ended up having Julius Erving, Dr. J, come to New Bedford High School. And I don't know how they did it. I have no idea how they did it. But anyway, we all heard about Dr. J coming to New Bedford High School. How's that happening? And we're all excited. So we all go to the gym. Now I'm a sophomore. I was going to my sophomore year, I think, yeah. Anyway, so we're in it. Place is packed. And, Dr. J comes in. and he has his gray top. I'll never forget it. Gray top, gray sweatpants. I think he had Converse sneakers on. His afro was way out here. Anyway, he came in and he did a clinic. And what he did was, at the beginning, I remember that he had a ball in his hand and he was doing some type of drills. And I recall people were like, they didn't come for that. They wanted to see all the dunk and all that. And Doctor had stated, he goes, well, I might make it look easy, but I work for it. I this is what I do. I may make it look easy, but it's not. It takes a lot of work and a lot of effort, and you got to learn the fundamentals. So anyway, the crowd's packed, and Dr. J comes out, and he says, well, give me the highest leaper in the building. And a guy by the name of Gus Hodge comes down, because they told him Gus was probably one of the highest leapers in Bedford at that time. And he tells Gus, he says, well, nice to meet you, Gus. They do all that. And then he says, Gus, do me a favor. Why don't you touch the backboard? Gus touched the backboard. He said, well, touch the rim. Gus was like, yeah, I got this. He tells Gus, okay, Gus, touch the backboard without bending your knees. And we're all looking, what the hell? What? Touch the backboard without bending your knees. Think about it. So obviously Gus couldn't do it. And then he said, well, touch the rim without bending your knees. And that wouldn't work. Dr. J grabbed two balls. Boom, boom, boom. And he goes up, bink, bink, without bending his knees. Now, for those of you who don't believe me, do me a favor. Google 1976 All-Star Game dunk contest. You'll see Dr. J doing it. Under the basket, bank, bank. Check it out, see if I'm right. Anyway, so he did that. And then he said, well, give me the 5, 6 best players here. And all my boys are like, no, to me, Mike, go ahead. I'm like, what? I was like this. So he said, yeah, go ahead, Mike, go ahead. So I go down there and 6 other players, we meet at half court. Dr. J shakes our hands. His hands are like, yeah, it's huge. And I remember now I started getting really nervous. As a matter of fact, I had change in my left pocket. And I'm shaking. And place was packed, by the way. And I'm shaking. And I remember he's like, well, make yourself comfortable, get loose. And I remember reaching over and all of my change fell out of my pocket. What a way to begin. So anyway, he said, okay, well, the game's 2-2. And I forgot how we did it, but we went in order. And the first guy I remember was David Lato, who I can talk about another time. But Doc hits 2 shots. Bang, bang. All right, you're out. Next guy comes. Bang, bang. You're out. So now I come up, and I'm playing him. And I'm getting I'm in his damn underwear. But anyway, he takes a jump shot, and he misses. I grab the rebound. I go to the left corner. I go between the legs. I do a spin, and I do a left-hand hook. And I couldn't even see anything because it was like this, like a shadow. Anyway, I missed the shot, obviously. But then you had to clear it. So he got the rebound. He cleared it. Again, now he's at the foul line. He takes his jump shot, bang, but it hits the back of the rim. And when it hits the back of the rim, the ball comes down. I see the ball coming in my hands. And I'm like, damn. He grabbed it with his paws, turned around, did a 360 dunk. The place went nuts. Crazy. Anyway, he went through the line. And what transpired was Darren Watkins, if I recall, was the only one to score. I think Darren hit a shot from the left corner, a jump shot, and he scored. No one else scored. And then, what happened was, now my mind's a little cuckoo because I got dementia sometimes. But from my recollection of it, he called everybody down and people were coming in a semicircle. And folks, he did every damn dunk you can imagine. 1 ball, 2 ball, backboard, bing, bang, bang. He only dunk he didn't do was the foul line because there was too many people. But he did. He gave the crowd what they came to see. And you know what? This is how I was too young. There was a family called the Barboses, and one of the Barboses filmed it, but it was microfilm. Again, which I should have known. But anyway, I was given that microfilm tape. But I'm 12 years old. I don't know what the hell. Oh, 13. No, I was 16. I was 16. Let me get it right. I was 16 years old, and he had given me the microfilm, and I'm like, what the hell am I going to do with this? And I don't know what the hell happened to it. I wish imagine if I had that. But anyway, that was a outstanding experience with Dr. J. What a great experience. He was a great person. I'll cherish that for the rest of my life, And but anyway, soon after that, the NBA and ABA merged, and Dr. J went to the Philadelphia 76ers. And I remember watching the game. His very first game was at Golden State. His very first game, and it was over. And that was unbelievable. But getting back to the guy I was talking about was David Thompson. David Thompson, as I told you, he had a 48-inch vertical leap, played at North Carolina State. He got drafted they wanted him in the NBA, but he chose the ABA and the Denver Nuggets. It was legendary of his leaping ability and all the dunks he used to do and how him and Dr. J used to go at it. But I got to see it firsthand. I went to the Boston Garden on four different occasions when the Denver came to the Boston Garden. And folks, let me tell you something. Incredible. Even Bill Walton did off. He was way before his time. I'm gonna tell you something about David Thompson, and you guys again can go Google what I'm saying. What he would do, he had one move. Didn't handle the ball very well. It didn't pass very well either, to be honest with you. But he had one move. And all it was, he'd get the ball on his right side, he'd fake left and go right. That's it. Only move he had. Again, get the ball, go left, fake left, and go right, and then jump to the damn moon. So no one could block your shot. So if you played him, it don't matter. He's the only dude that I know in all my years watching basketball, NBA. I never seen him get his shot blocked. I'm sure it happened. But he would, even in college, he's only 6'4". They had a guy by the name of Nate Burleson who was 7'3" on his team, by the way. And they had a guy named Monty Tao who was 5'4", 5'5", 5'6". But anyway, so he was like in the middle, 6'4". And what he would do, again, you can go look it up. You see, he'd go to the foul line. And I don't care if it was a 7-footer, a 6'1", he would just catch the ball, turn, and soar. Up. But again, boom, boom. Even in the NBA, so you go looking for highlights. He got one move and then to the right, but he jumped so goddamn high, it didn't matter. And of course, his dunks were great. And then that 1976 dunk contest, he went against Julius Erving. And I think he probably should have won it, but when Doctor did that foul line, it kind of was a wrap. But David Thompson, I got to see him play 4 times, and it was like a cartoon character. Here's one story. I got to the game, one of the games I got there early, and David Thompson and a guy, let me get it right. David Thompson and a guy by the name of Anthony Roberts, who played at Oral Roberts. He was on Denver with David Thompson. Now, this is before the game. Them two go out and I'm watching. They're on the court, and they start doing their dunkings, whatever. So I think they had a mano thing going on. So he did a dunk, but what happened was the rim bented. The rim, front of the rim was like down. So they decided, okay, we're going to dunk, but we're not going to touch the rim. Think about that. So they were doing up in the air, dropping the ball in the basket. I'm just sitting there in awe. I'm like, whoa, this is crazy. It's before the game now. I'm like, this is crazy. And I remember going to the parking lot trying to meet him, but that never materialized. But David Thompson was phenomenal. So we talked a little bit about the beginning of the NBA and how Russell ended up becoming a Boston Celtic. We through the ice capades again. We talked about the early years of the Russell versus Chamberlain and in the microfilm, and then we brought it back a little bit, a little bit more with the ABA. ABA was fantastic. So many great ball players that came from there. I'm gonna tell you one story. Okay, now this is a good story. I have so many. I don't know if you guys have ever heard of a guy by the name of Marvin Bonds. Marvin Bonds, 6'9", played out of Providence College. He went to the Final Four or Final Two, if I recall. I think, yeah, I think it was. I think it was the year that Bill Walton went berserk in the finals. Well, anyway, Marvin Bonds had a great career. He another one that went to the ABA, and he played with the St. Louis Spirits. And on that team, on one of their teams, check this out. They had Moses Malone. They had M.O. Carr. What a team that was. But anyway, Marvin Bonds was a phenomenon. Marvin Bonds, check this out. He got 55 points against Dr. J. True story. You can look it up again. Everything I'm saying, again, I don't have Google. But he got 55 points against Dr. J. Now, he had such a great ABA career, but then it started going downhill a little bit, and then when he went to the NBA, he was kind of a shell of himself. He did play for the Celtics for a while, by the way, but he kind of he was a kind of a shell of himself. But what a tremendous ball player Marvin Bonds was. And, what was funny was that a good friend of mine, his sister was living out in Detroit. Now, Marvin Bonds was playing for the Pistons at this particular time. Anyway, he ended up playing with the San Diego. He made the rounds, He made the rounds. And after his career was over, I guess his girlfriend took him to New Bedford. And there's a place called the Bomb Shelter, folks. The bomb shelter is about the ceiling is maybe 6'5". All right. Anyway, Marvin's 6'9". So picture him coming trying to get in the bomb shelter. Meanwhile, the bomb shelter was hopping. Bomb shelter was the bomb. Everybody used to go there, and it was always packed during the weekends and all that. But Carl, this particular night, I walk in there, and I see Marvin Bonds, and he's sitting down. And I go and introduce myself. And Marvin, this is Mike Consaccio. I didn't say that. I said, my name is Mike Consaccio, whatever. And we sat down and we talked. And do you know, we hardly even talked about basketball. Marvin was, from what I know, people might defer that they said he was a gangster and he was, a gangster this. That might have been true when he was forced to, or maybe I don't know. But all I can tell you is that he was one of the nicest people I ever met, and not once did he talk about Dr. J or David Thompson or his career. Incredible. The man, when he came out, I remember when he came to New Bedford. Prior to that, he came down with limousines, and he had, I don't know if it's true or not, he had 17 phones in his house, or he had a mansion. But Marvin, what happened to a lot of players is Marvin took care of his friends, and you know what happens when you do that. And he ended up having the career that he, at the end of his career, was not one that I'm sure that he wanted. But I can tell you, for one thing, Marvin was a nice person and a great player. And fast forward, I had gone to a concert in Providence, and I had seen him coming down the stairs, and of course he remembered me. And unfortunately he passed away as well. But what a great player! Him and Ernie Di Gregorio at Providence College was phenomenal. But then one story I will tell you, which I think we got. Oh, we only got a few minutes, so I gotta hurry up. I don't know what happened with John Reeves, so I'll make it quick because we gotta go. I have another guest with me, Emanuela Alves. Hope she can come on. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning in to my show. And unfortunately, we'll try to get John Reeves back on again. But anyway, I want to thank you all for listening and watching Sports Corner with the Conn Man on the Sports Wave Network. Until we meet again. Matter of fact, next week we got a doubleheader. Again, it's going to be on point. We got Aaron Christian. You guys got to check him. Unbelievable. And then we got a guy follow suit. And again, my shows, I try to have my shows make an impact. My guests make an impact. And next week, oh yes. But anyway, folks, thank you for tuning in to my show. God bless and happy Valentine's Day. Stay safe. God bless. Take care. Thank you so much. Peace out.